You reheat it so it's safe. That's the deal, isn't it? 2 minutes in the microwave, and whatever grew on that counter overnight is supposed to be gone. It isn't. There's a fridge in Belgium that killed a 7-year-old girl. It was plugged in. It was closed. It hummed away in the corner like every fridge you've ever owned. And when the investigators finally put a thermometer inside it, it was running at 57 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll come back to that fridge, because what was growing in it also killed a 20-year-old man in Brussels 5 years later. He put his dinner in the microwave first. It did not touch the poison. Nothing in your kitchen does. They've cooked this stuff at 250 degrees for 2 hours, the temperature hospitals use to sterilize surgical steel, and it came out the other side completely intact. 1st of October 2008. A 20-year-old man comes home from class and puts a plate of spaghetti in the microwave. The pasta was cooked 5 days earlier, and it's been sitting on the kitchen counter ever since. He eats it, feels fine, and heads out to sport. He's dead 10 hours later. My name's Desmond Vale. I cooked in other people's kitchens for 30 years, and every one of them had a rule about rice that nobody could ever explain to me. They just knew. Now I know why, and I've spent the last 3 weeks reading every report that's been published on it. By the end of this, you'll have 4 things you can check tonight. One of them's a temperature, and I'd put money on your fridge being wrong. Both of these people are real, and both are in the medical literature. The young man's in the Journal of Clinical Microbiology, December 2011. 11 authors from the Belgian Institute of Public Health, 3 years of work on 1 plate of pasta. The girl's in the same journal, 2005. Where I'm reading straight off a report, I'll tell you. And there's one thing about the night he died that nobody knows and nobody ever will, and I'll show you exactly where that gap is when we get to it. Wind it back 5 days to the Friday. Somebody in that flat cooks spaghetti with tomato sauce. Nothing exotic, nothing raw, the most ordinary food in Europe. The leftovers go on the counter, not in the fridge, on the counter at room temperature, and there they stay. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. By Wednesday afternoon, that pasta's 5 days old. He comes back from class, he's hungry, and there it is. Into the microwave, warmed through, and he eats the lot. Then he heads out to his sports club. 30 minutes. That's how long he lasts before he turns round and comes home with a headache, stomach pain, and nausea. Then he starts vomiting, and he doesn't stop. The report puts it flatly. He vomited profusely for several hours. Think about what that actually is. It's dark outside when it starts, and it's the middle of the night when it stops. He takes nothing for it. Not a tablet, not a spoonful of anything. He drinks water and brings the water straight back up. Around midnight it turns. 2 bouts of watery diarrhea, and then it finally eases off. And that's the cruel part, because easing off feels like getting better. He's empty, he's shaking, he's exhausted, and the worst of it's behind him. So he goes to bed. Here the report goes very quiet. 11 o'clock the next morning, his parents are worried because he hasn't got up. They go into his room and they find him dead. The post-mortem put the time of death at around 4 in the morning, 10 hours after he ate. He never called anyone. He never got worse in a way that made him reach for a phone. He was a healthy 20-year-old who'd had a rough night with something he ate, and he went to sleep, and that was the end of him. That's the gap I promised you. Nobody knows what happened between midnight and 4. He was alone, and he was asleep. The report doesn't say, so I won't either. And it never gives his name, not once, in 3 pages. He's a case number and a column of laboratory values, and that's all he gets to be in the medical literature forever. So I'm going to call him Thomas. It's not his name. I don't know his name, and neither does anybody outside that family. But I'm not spending the next 15 minutes calling a 20-year-old lad the patient. One question before I go on. Don't get up, just hold it in your head. There's a container in your fridge with something you cooked in it. You know when you cooked it. Do you know when it went cold? Those are 2 completely different numbers, and only one of them matters. Park that. Because the lab was about to open up that pasta, and the number they pulled out of it isn't the number I expected. 95 million bacteria per gram. That's what the Belgian National Reference Lab counted in those leftovers. The organism was Bacillus cereus, and there's nothing exotic about it. It lives in soil. It's on rice and grain and pasta in tiny, harmless numbers, everywhere, all the time. You've probably eaten it today. Then they measured the poison it had been making. 14.8 micrograms of cereulide per gram of pasta. The amounts known to make a person vomit start at about 1/100th of a microgram. That plate was at the top of everything ever measured in a food poisoning outbreak, roughly 10 times what they'd found in the worst previous pasta case. And the poison doesn't care about your cooker. They've tested it at boiling, well past boiling, and hotter still. The published work says no heat treatment used anywhere in the food industry inactivates it. Reheating kills the bacteria and leaves the poison sitting exactly where it was, in food that comes out steaming and smells like dinner. Which brings me to the thing that genuinely makes me angry. In this country, that group of bacteria is reckoned to cause about 63,000 illnesses a year. Almost all of them are a bad night and a bin bag, and there isn't one word about any of it on a bag of pasta. Bloody nothing. Cooking instructions, a nutrition table, a cheerful little serving suggestion, and total silence on the one thing that actually kills people. So why is it always rice and pasta? Every kitchen I worked in had a rule about rice, and not one chef could tell me where it came from. Here's what nobody explained to me in 30 years. Bacillus cereus makes spores. A spore's the bacterial version of a seed with a shell on it, and boiling water doesn't kill it. What boiling water does kill is everything else in that pot. All the harmless bacteria that would normally crowd it out are gone, and the spores sitting in a warm bowl of starch with the whole place to itself. Then it cools down, and that's when it wakes up and starts multiplying. Now picture a deep tub of pasta going into a fridge. The outside's cold in 20 minutes. The middle of that tub can stay warm for hours. You haven't stored your dinner, you've built an incubator and shut the door on it. Any professional kitchen has a rule for that. Yours probably doesn't. What the poison does is brutally simple. Cereulide's a door that only opens for potassium. It slips through the wall of your cells and settles on the mitochondria, the part that turns food into usable energy, and that runs on a very carefully held electrical balance. Cereulide punches that balance open, potassium floods in, the mitochondria swell up and burst, and the cell dies. Now run that across an entire liver. The autopsy couldn't be done for 5 days, and the pathologists were honest about how much that cost them. His liver had gone brown and soft. There was over a pint of loose fluid sitting in his abdomen where no fluid belongs. His pancreas had liquefied. Under the microscope, dead liver tissue, and the lining of his colon was necrotic through every single layer. That's what one plate of pasta did to a 20-year-old athlete in 10 hours. His heart was structurally fine, by the way. They went looking specifically, with a stain for dying cells, and found nothing wrong with the heart muscle. Which told them the cardiac arrest wasn't the poison hitting the heart. It was a body that had run out of the ability to hold its own chemistry together. I want to be careful here, because the authors were careful. They write that they can't name Bacillus cereus as the direct and only cause of death because the delay had ruined too much tissue. What they do say is that the bacterial count and the cereulide concentration in those leftovers are the most likely cause of death of this young, healthy man. That's a conclusion with the brakes on. It's also the version I trust. If it were only him, you could file it under freak accident. But unfortunately, it isn't only him. August 2003, a different Belgian family. Pasta salad made on a Friday. Just one day later at Saturday, it goes to a picnic. What comes home goes in the fridge, and on the Monday evening it's served to the children for supper. It smelled slightly off. 3 of the 5 children noticed and only picked at it. Remember that, it matters in a minute. In the report, the youngest is called G7. She is a girl, 7 years old. That's it. That's her name in the literature. So we'll keep the G and just call her Greta. 6 hours after supper, Greta starts vomiting. She goes grey, she can't breathe properly, and they take her to the local emergency department. While she's being seen, her brothers and sisters start vomiting in the waiting room, all 5 of them. 2 of the children crash fast enough to be put on ventilators. Everyone's moved to the university hospital in Leuven, and during that transfer, Greta bleeds into her lungs, and they're resuscitating her the whole way there. She arrives in a coma, bleeding, with severe muscle cramps. She died 20 minutes after arriving, 13 hours after supper. Her blood ammonia was over 2,000. Normal for a child her age is between 11 and 32. Her 9-year-old brother was on a ventilator for an entire day. His liver enzymes peaked at 12,000 against a normal of under 40, and his blood had nearly lost the ability to clot. He recovered. So did his 2 sisters. The 14-year-old was one of the 3 who'd barely touched it, and he never got worse. The survivors went home after 8 days. Now you're probably thinking exactly what I had thought. They said it smelled off. I'd have smelled it. I'd never have eaten that. 3 of those children did smell it. That's why they only picked at it, and it's almost certainly why they're alive. Greta ate a normal portion of food that everyone at that table knew tasted a bit odd. Why? Because she was 7. Because it was dinner. Because that's how she was raised. Your nose isn't the safety system. Your nose is what's left after the safety system's already failed, and the safety system is a temperature and a clock. Back to that fridge. The pasta salad wasn't left out on a counter like the Brussels case. It was in the fridge for 3 days, doing exactly what every food safety leaflet in the world tells you to do. The investigators measured it. 57 degrees Fahrenheit. A fridge is supposed to run at 40 or below. 57 isn't cold. That's a cool cupboard. And food doesn't stop going off in a cool cupboard, it just goes off a bit slower. And there's a paper from the year 2000 with a title that reads like a warning nobody ever printed on a label. Bacillus cereus produces most emetic toxin at lower temperatures. Some strains hit peak toxin production between about 54 and 59. So that fridge got it wrong twice over. Too warm to stop anything growing, and sitting right in the window where this bug makes the most poison it will ever make. It wasn't just failing to protect that food, it was the best possible machine for spoiling it. And the family had put their dinner in it on purpose. Follow it through. The bacteria didn't start growing in that fridge. They started at the picnic, out in the open on the Saturday. The fridge was meant to stop them when the food came home, and at 57 degrees it didn't stop anything. It just let them carry on for another 2 days. One more detail from that report. When the lab typed the bacteria, they found the same strain in the pasta salad, in the bowl, in the chocolate milk, and in the semi-skimmed milk. It had walked across the cold shelf. So by the Monday, it wasn't one bad bowl in there, it was the shelf. I've no way of knowing whether that fridge had been broken for a week or for a year. The report doesn't say, so I'm not going to guess. What I know is the number that came off the thermometer, and that a fridge at 57 degrees looks and feels exactly like a fridge that works. 2 families, same bug, and every single thing that went wrong in both of them was a temperature or a clock. So here's what you actually do about it. 4 rules, and none of them cost you more than $10. Rule 1 you already know. The clock doesn't start when you finish cooking. It starts when the food is properly cold. That's the only timing that counts. Rule 2. Buy a fridge thermometer. Not an app, not the dial on the door. A thermometer that sits on the middle shelf and gives you a number. You want 40 degrees or under. If it shows you 50 anything, you've got that family's fridge, and nothing you cook goes in there until it's fixed. A thermometer costs about $6. That family's fridge cost them a daughter. Rule 3, and this is the one professional kitchens have. Cooked rice and cooked pasta go cold fast, then into the fridge inside the hour. Shallow dish, spread it out, lid off until the steam stops. Not a deep tub with a lid on it, because now you know what's happening in the middle of that tub. 2 days in a proper fridge, then it goes in the bin. The calendar decides. not your nose. Rule 4, and this is the one people argue with me about. If it stood out overnight, it goes in the bin. All of it. No reheating it harder, no boiling it twice, no cutting the bad part off. Cooking does not undo this, and there's a lad in Brussels called Thomas who proves it. Most meals are fine. I eat leftovers, you eat leftovers, and almost every time the worst that happens is nothing at all. This is the other end of it. 2 families, 5 years apart, same country, same organism, ordinary food that everyone in both stories thought was safe enough. These 4 rules are the short version. Every rule I've collected from every case I've worked through is in my guides. Links in the description. If you want to be careful in your own kitchen, have a look. Thanks for watching. The research takes me a long time and I make these myself, so a like, a comment and a subscribe help more than you'd think. And send it to whoever does the cooking in your family. Mind how you cook.